Part 1. The Blue Door and the Whispering Field. The training ground lay behind a blue wooden door that stuck a little in summer and creaked like a friendly old whale in winter. Every afternoon, Urush would press his cheek to the cool paint, breathe in the smell of fresh cut grass and raindrops, and slip through to the wide green world that felt like a second home. He wasn't the tallest in his class, and he wasn't the loudest. What made people look twice was the way he listened. Urush listened to the thump of a ball the way a bird listens to the wind. He could tell from the sound and spin whether the ball wanted to bounce high or skim low, whether it had mischief in it or kindness. "Gloves," called old Finch, the groundskeeper, from his shed piled high with nets and cones. "I have a pair that hum like beehives and a pair that squeak like mice." Urush laughed. "I'll take the quiet ones today." The quiet gloves were soft and smelled faintly of cedar. When he slipped them on, they warmed his fingers like tea in winter. Coach Mira watched him from the touchline, her hands tucked into the pockets of her long coat, her eyes kind and curious. "You don't just guard the goal, do you?" she said one evening, when the sun folded itself into the horizon and left the grass glittering with a last sigh of light. "I think the field talks to me," Urush said, not embarrassed at all. "When the wind changes, I can feel where the next pass will go." The goal is home, but sometimes home is a place you return to after you help your friends. Coach Mira's smile deepened. "Then learn to listen better. Learn to hear the footsteps of your teammates and the heartbeat of the ball." So he did. After homework, after dinner, after helping his mother stack the plates, Urush would tiptoe past the blue door and practice hearing. He learned to step forward when danger called from far away. He learned to drift back with the patience of a cloud. The field was a constant, gentle teacher. Part 2. First storm. First song. A rainy Saturday arrived, the kind that makes umbrellas pirouette like jellyfish. The senior team's goalkeeper had a cough that sounded like a broken accordion. Coach Mira looked across the locker room and nodded at Urush. "It's your day," she said. "Play the simple notes. Let the game make the melody." Urush's heart went hum-hum in his chest, not frightening, just strong. He tugged on his quiet gloves and stepped into the rain, which kissed his cheeks and braided silver threads into his eyelashes. In the first minutes, a long pass skipped like a pebble toward the penalty area. Urush felt it coming before he saw it. He drifted forward, gathered the ball into his arms, and then, this surprised even him, he didn't stop. He glanced up, saw a teammate in space, and sent a smooth rolling pass across the wet green. Pass slid like a river to its ocean, and the crowd made a sound like a kettle just starting to sing. "Brave," murmured Coach Mira. "Music," said old Finch, adjusting the scoreboard with proud clacks. The match finished with dry socks only in dreams, but with smiles wide as windows. The senior players ruffled Urush's hair, which was impossible because his hair was always tidy, but he didn't mind. The blue door creaked happily when he went home. Part 3. The Silver Skylark. The youth team was invited to the Silver Skylark tournament that spring, a festival of pennants and lemonade stands, of roaring cheers and soft-serve ice cream. Arush memorized the way the winds swirled between tall trees at the edge of the grounds. He noticed how the sun in late afternoon made shadows stretch and the ball grow frisky. In the semifinal, he ran out to intercept a pass that would have left the striker alone. He slid, popped up, and played the ball forward again. Felt like flying, but with feet still on earth. In the final, when the last whistle blew and his team won by a single goal, his teammates lifted him onto their shoulders. From up there, Arush saw faces like lanterns and heard the silver bell of laughter. He waved at a little boy on the fence who wore gloves 3 sizes too big and was practicing holding the air like a precious secret. The Skylark Trophy was not heavy. What weighed more was the promise Arush made to himself: play with courage, play with kindness, and never forget to listen. Part 4: Riverlight Rovers and the Cup of Rivers. By the time he was old enough to worry about the length of his shoelaces, Arush had become the first-choice goalkeeper for the Riverlight Rovers. Their badge was a fish leaping over a moon, and their stadium smelled of popcorn and rain. With Arush behind them, though he often seemed to be everywhere at once, the Rovers made an unexpected run to the Cup of Rivers and then, to everyone's delight, won it. Inside the locker room afterward, the captain tapped the silver cup and said, "We did something people said we couldn't." Feels nice, doesn't it? Arush touched the rim of the trophy lightly. It feels like we listened to each other, he said. Captain grinned. That too. Part 5: The Crimson City moved. The summer the swallows stitched the sky with their fast little flights. A letter arrived. Crimson City Titans wanted Arush to join them. They were a great club with a great stadium and fans whose songs could shake the dust from the rafters. But they were also rivals to Riverlight, and the move made some folks purse their lips and fold their arms. Arush walked through the markets and heard whispers. He walked past the blue door and felt it swallow a sigh. He sat under the old willow by the training pitch and listened to the leaves clap softly above. At dinner, his mother reached across the table. "Sometimes," she said, "dreams grow so big they need a bigger sky." Hugo, go honestly. Take your listening with you. He signed for Crimson City. On his first day, the stadium glimmered like a red sea. Some supporters cheered, some made a sound like a breeze through dry reeds. Coach Mira hugged him goodbye and slipped something tiny into his pocket. "When the noise is loud," she said, "remember the quiet." It was a lucky pebble, smooth and river-warmed. Arush carried it from then on. The early weeks at Crimson City were like learning new steps of a dance. He arrived early. He stayed late. He answered children's letters with careful ink. He thanked the laundry staff and borrowed books about the club's history. Some afternoons, when the stands were empty and the light lay soft on the seats, he would stand on the penalty spot and whisper, "I'm here to belong by doing my best." Part 6: The Record of Stillness. Crimson City had once had a legendary goalkeeper, a captain nicknamed the Iron Oak. His record of consecutive minutes without letting in a goal was 150,000 heartbeats long, or something like that. Everyone told the tale slightly differently, with eyes bright as glass marbles. Without meaning to chase records, Arush stepped into a season of stillness. Game after game, he kept the net as quiet as early snow. He listened, he darted, he slid out to meet danger with a clear head and warm hands. He passed like a midfielder, he tackled like a careful uncle, and he never forgot to be gentle when the whistle went and someone looked disappointed. When the record finally fell, it did not shatter. Floated and then settled in a new place like a kite finding the right breeze. The fans who had once wrestled with doubt now roared his name in a rhythm that felt like a heartbeat. Arush bowed his head and tapped the pebble in his pocket. He asked the wind to carry his thanks to the iron oak, wherever old records sleep. Part 7. The Meadow Runner. People began to say Arush was a different kind of goalkeeper. Sometimes he would sprint out of his penalty area to clear a danger before it became a danger, like a gardener pulling weeds before the roses knew they were threatened. Sometimes he would take a pass, turn with it, and begin an attack with a smooth, low ball that split the field like a silver seam. "Is it allowed?" a reporter asked one day, not unkindly. "More than allowed," Arush said with a smile. "It's listening to the game's whispers and answering politely." He practiced with cones placed like stories waiting to be told. He ran beyond the chalk lines and learned to judge distances the way sailors judge stars. Team grew braver around him, more adventurous. They called him their Meadow Runner, and the name stuck like a comfortable nickname should. Part 8. The sky blue sash. A letter with a sky blue seal arrived, and Arush ran all the way to the blue door to show old Finch. "They've called me," he said, breathless and shining. "The national team. I'll wear the sky blue sash." Old Finch folded his arms, pretending to be serious. "Will you remember us when you're guarding goals under foreign suns?" Arush hugged him. "I'll keep a piece of this field in my pocket." So he did. When he traveled across oceans to the World Meadow Games, where flags fluttered and drums rolled and children painted their faces in a carousel of colors, he carried the pebble and a pinch of dried grass from the Riverlight pitch in a tiny cloth pouch. Tournament was bright and wild and tender. When Arush sang the anthem, he felt the voices of his grandparents and his neighbors and the blue door swelling in his chest. In the final, under a sky the color of ripe mangoes, he ran, he caught, he swept, he passed. He wasn't only a wall, he was a bridge. When the last whistle pealed like a bell in a tower, the world seemed to hold its breath. Then the breath let go in joy. Arush lay on the grass with his teammates piled around him, looking up at clouds that looked back like proud grandparents. "We did it," whispered the captain. "We listened," Arush murmured. Part 9. The captain's band. And the lantern year's time moved the way it does through school terms and birthdays, through rainy autumns and early springs. Arush earned the captain's band at Crimson City and sometimes for the sky blue team as well. He didn't shout much. He spoke when needed, and he looked people in the eye, and he remembered names. When a new player arrived and wasn't sure where to sit, Arush patted the seat next to him. When a fan wrote that their little sister was ill, Arush sent her a postcard that Simi led faintly of the cedar of his gloves and drew a cartoon of a smiling goalpost. seasons stacked like books on a shelf in some, the Titans won the league and the cup and the starry tournament beyond the mountains, all in one glorious sweep that felt like a triple rainbow after a summer storm. In others, they only won the joy of playing together, which wasn't nothing. Arush kept training with careful patience. He helped younger goalkeepers learn to hear the grass. Part 10 Snow, Silence and Slow Steps. The winter after the Lantern Cup. A tournament of lanterns hung along streets and songs that pooled in squares like warm soup. Arush took a rare holiday in the mountains. He laughed on a sled with friends. The snow made everything soft and the trees cushioned the wind. But joy can be playful and still ask for caution. On a sunny morning, the sled hit a hidden ridge. Arush tumbled, and a sharp pain rose like a sudden note. In the quiet that followed, the sky seemed very blue. Friends called for help. The mountain medics arrived like careful angels. It was a serious leg injury, they said, but fixable. Fixable if he gave it time and kindness. Fixable if he listened in a new way, not to the ball or the wind but to his own body. The weeks that followed were slow and full. Arush learned the music of healing ice that sang like sleigh bells. Steady breaths counted to 4, then to 6, then to 8. The exercises felt small at first. He lifted his toes and felt like he'd moved a mountain. He whispered to his leg, "You'll be you again." "I'll wait." On days when doubt tapped at the window, Arush wrote letters to himself using the calm voice he used for others. He remembered the blue door, the quiet gloves, the pebble in his pocket. He remembered that patience is a kind of courage. Spring came. The first day he jogged in the park, the wind tucked a curl behind his ear. The first day he dived onto the soft practice mat, the grass applauded. The first day he met the ball again in a match, time stretched like taffy and then snapped sweetly back into place. The stadium, respectful and careful, grew in volume as if someone turned up a warm lamp in a dim room. Arush smiled and kept listening. Part 11 A gentle summer farewell. In late summer 2 years later, with sunflowers tilting their heads like curious listeners, Arush stood before the sky-blue crowd. He had decided to take off the sash and rest his international shoulders. He still loved the game fiercely, and he would keep playing for Crimson City, but it was time to let others feel the weight and wonder of representing everyone. He spoke plainly and kindly. "Thank you for trusting me to guard our shared dream," he said. "I'll always be one of you," even seated in the stands, counting breaths with the goalkeeper on the field. Nobody cried loudly, but many eyes shone. The little boy who once wore big gloves was taller now. He clapped until his palms tingled. Coaches hugged him. The band played a tune that felt like walking home at dusk with a friend. Part 12 Night practice and fireflies. Arush still trained under stars sometimes. Fireflies drifted like tiny lanterns on strings. He set up cones that looked, in the dimness, like orange tents for ants. He practiced stepping forward at the right moment, practiced the long pass that hummed with promise, practiced the saving dive that was less a leap and more a gentle fall done exactly right. One evening, a young goalkeeper named Lila approached, holding her gloves to her chest like a book she adored. "Everyone says you changed how keepers play," she said, her voice thin and brave. "How did you know it was okay to leave the line?" Ursh knelt so their eyes met like lake and moon. "I didn't know," he said. "I listened. The field told me there was a better way to help my friends. And when I tried, I did it humbly, ready to learn. If something doesn't hurt anyone and might help everyone, it's worth a careful step." Lila considered this, then smiled. "Will you show me?" And he did, for an hour that felt like 5 minutes and a lifetime that felt like a song. He showed her how to feel the thrum of approaching danger, how to speak to her defenders like a lighthouse speaks to ships, how to be brave without being rash. He showed her that the best keepers are gardeners who grow courage and peace. Part 13. The night the wind wore a scarf on a blustery autumn evening, Crimson City faced their oldest rivals, the kind of match that makes even the steadiest hands tremble a little. The wind wore a scarf of leaves and tugged playfully at corner flags. Early on, a bouncing ball popped loose, quick and sly. Ursh felt it before he saw it. He ran, not panicked, just precise, met the ball outside the area and played a wide pass to the left where a teammate had been quietly waiting. The stands murmured and then sang. Later, he made a fingertip save that looked like a leaf deciding not to fall after all. He waved and thanked the wind. "We did it together," he whispered, and the wind, pleased, softened. After the final whistle, a child at the railing tugged his sleeve. "What does it feel like," she asked, "to keep a CLE and sheet?" Ursh thought, then said, "Like tidying your room so your favorite book has a safe place to rest." Part 14. The house with many rooms. As seasons rolled on, Ursh understood something that made him smile even on gray days. A team is a house with many rooms. The strikers are windows that let in light. The defenders are walls that hold up the roof. The midfielders are hallways that connect everything. And the goalkeeper is the door, sometimes closed, sometimes open, always welcoming friends and gently keeping out gusts. He hosted tea for the kit washers, thanked the bus driver after each trip, and learned how to say bravo in a dozen languages because a team is also a tiny world. When a teammate had a new baby, Ursh knit a small blanket that came out lumpy but warm. When the city planted new trees along the stadium path, he went on his day off to water them. Part 15. The last practice before sleep. One night, not long after a victory parade that smelled of confetti and cinnamon, Ursh returned to the blue door. Creaked just the same as when he was little. Old Finch looked older and also exactly the same. "You've traveled far," Old Finch said, handing him the quiet gloves. "So have you," Ursh said, nodding at the shed and the field and the sky. "We've all stayed and traveled both." They laughed softly. Ursh lay on the grass and looked up. The stars did not blink more for famous people, they blinked kindly for everyone. A moth spun an invisible circle around the goalpost. Somewhere, a family finished dinner and told each other stories. Somewhere, a little keeper in big gloves fell asleep and dreamed of catching the moon with soft hands and passing it calmly to a friend. Arush closed his eyes and counted breaths. In. The smell of grass and cedar. Out. The sound of old friends humming. In. Cool night air, sweet as pears. Out. The distant drum of a city settling into quiet. He thought of records and trophies as postcards on a shelf, lovely memories of places he had visited, not the whole reason for traveling. He thought of the whispering field, of listening as a kind of love. Good night, he told the goal, the grass, the blue door, and the pebble in his pocket. Thank you for teaching me how to stand still and how to run. And the field, a gentle teacher, answered with silence, which is a kind of lullaby for those who listen. Moral of the story: courage can be quiet. Arush showed that bravery doesn't always mean standing still. Sometimes it means stepping forward to help, and sometimes it means waiting patiently to heal. Kindness wins hearts. By being humble, respectful, and thoughtful, Arush turned doubters into friends and made every place feel like home. Listening is powerful. When you pay attention to your teammates, your body, and the world around you, you find better ways to solve problems and support others. Perseverance brings peace. Hard work, steady practice, and patience in tough times can lead not only to success but also to a calm, happy heart ready for restful sleep.